The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, a man-made loss. As tourism starts to pick up since the economic crisis, the $50 charge eats into the government's profits as 20% siphons towards VFS Global. Seeking your opinions, the central bank opens up a channel to ask people what they think about the newly amended Finance Leasing Act. Lipton brands in Kenya, Tanzania and Rwanda have a new Sri Lankan owner as Browns takes over leadership. And it's a hat trick. The stock market for the third consecutive day ends in the red. Investor sentiments get jittery with volatile financial news of the economy.
From Studio 24, here's Sina Mayadune.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Opposition legislator S.M. Marikar charged that Sri Lanka's government will no longer earn $50 from a tourist visa, but 20% would to VFS Global, a private contractor hired without tender to run an electronic visa website.
Sri Lanka jacked up the price of a standard visa, which was doubled entry, to $75 from $50 with the advent of the VFS deal, and the firm's own charges pushed to cost $100.77, shocking tourists. Following the intervention by Tourist Minister Harin Fernando, a new single entry visa was promised for $50. But an opposition legislator alleged that Sri Lanka would lose $10 out of $50 to VFS Global Group and that contract was still in place. Marika charged that the government has thrown sand on the face of the people, trying to convince everyone that things are back to normal now and the $50 visa is now available. He inquired whether $10 from that goes to the company and said that someone should make that clear. There was no answer from the government benches.
Minister of State for Finance Dr. Ranjit Siambalapitiya says that the vehicle importers are expected to provide him with a special report on the removal of vehicle import restrictions and the possible impact.
The minister points out that this report, prepared by experts in the import field, will have a significant impact on resumption of vehicle imports. A discussion between the Vehicle Importers Association and the minister was held at the Ministry of Finance. The importers said that it is more practical to import the vehicles under several categories instead of importing all the vehicles at once. It was emphasized that it is more practical to give permission for the import of vehicles needed for public transport, used vehicles, private vehicles, etc. in parts. Matters were also discussed at the length about the problematic situations that have arisen regarding the payment of taxes.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that Sri Lanka will sit out of the International Climate Summit Conference of Parties in future if there continues to be a lack of cohesion in solutions to tackle climate change among world leaders. He stated this at the Code Red Climate Summit organized by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce.
The Code Red Climate Summit, which is targeted in addressing the global climate factors affecting the economy, will be held from 7th of June to the 9th of June at the Shangri-La Hotel, Colombo. Joining the opening ceremony, the president stated that it's time for Sri Lanka's economy to transform into an export and highly competitive economy.
We can't carry on with this economic model, which certainly hasn't worked. And we have, as I mentioned many times before, transformed ourselves into an export-oriented economy and a highly competitive economy. This purpose, the government will be introducing legislation in Parliament for which will ensure that all government policies focus on the transformation to a highly competitive, export-oriented economy. In fact, the bill most probably will be gazetted next week, but I'm not going to deal at length with the bill except to say that one of the items in the bill in carrying out this transformation is to ensure that we achieve net zero by 2050. And I can tell you we will achieve it before that. Sri Lanka can do it.
Central Bank Governor Nandinal Veerasinghe said that Sri Lanka's rupee is not seen to be volatile in the future based on data available at the moment.
Governor Veerasinghe told reporters yesterday that when looking at the foreign income and payments due in the future, he do not see the exchange rate moving up and down a lot. He added that even in the times of volatility, our policy is to allow the market to function, and if there is excessive volatility, we have the ability to intervene. The central bank now had $5.4 billion in the intervene, but the central bank allows the market to determine the rates based on requirements, he said. He emphasized that he does not think there will be a huge volatility based on the data that is available at the moment.
Having recognized the need for strengthening the protection of finance leasing customers and updating the Finance Leasing Act to be in line with the industry developments, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has initiated amending the FLA. To have wider stakeholder consultation, the CBSL is inviting the general public to submit observations, suggestions and comments on the draft amendments. The public can access the draft amendments through the CBSL website. The public is invited to send their observations, suggestions and comments through post, fax or email on or before the 31st of May 2024 under the subject Observations, Suggestions, Comments on the draft amendments to the Finance Leasing Act. A short commercial break now. Latest updates from the Colombo Stock Exchange coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange's negative trend continued for the third day as both indices ended in the low today as well. To get the insights, we have Kanushka Jayatissa standing by from SC Securities.
Yes. In today's market, the all share price index closed at 12,353 points, marking a 32 points decrease, while the S&P SL20 ended at 3,645 points, showing an increase of 4 points from the previous session. Total trading volume reached 124 million shares with a turnover of 2.2 billion rupees. The top 5 gainers for the day were Blue Diamonds Jewelry Non-Voting, Chemonex, UB Finance, Asia Capital and Amana Takaful. Top 5 losers for the day were Industrial Asphalts, Tess Agro, The Fortress Resort, Malwattu Valley Plantations, Non-Voting and Odell. Brown's Investments, Prime Lands Residencies, LOLC Finance recorded the highest share volumes, while the Brown's Investments, John Keel's Holdings, Pan Asia Banking Corporation led in turnovers. Notable crossings include John Keel's Holdings with 912,000 shares trading at 184 million rupees, Pan Asia Banking Corporation with 5 million shares trading at 112 million rupees, Sampath Bank with 855 shares trading at 66 million rupees, Nations Trust Bank with 500,000 shares trading at 56 million rupees.
Gold prices rose marginally in Asian trade today, seeing little support from safe haven demand as recent comments from Federal Reserve officials saw markets second-guess expectations for interest rate cuts. Spot gold rose 0.2% to $2,317.70 an ounce, while gold futures expiring in June steadied at $2,325.40 an ounce. The yellow metal saw some safe haven demand this week as a conflict between Israel and Hamas worsened and the ceasefire talks yield little progress. But safe haven buying was offset by pressure from renewed fears of high U.S. interest rates as well as a rebound in the dollar. Oil prices fell today as industry data showed a rise in crude and fuel inventories in the U.S. and as the U.S. dollar strengthened, signaling that the demand for oil is coming under pressure. Brent crude oil futures fell by $1.11 or 1.3% to $82.05 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell by $1.15 or 1.5% to $77.23 a barrel. Both benchmarks fell marginally in the previous sessions on the signs of easing supply tightness and weaker global oil demand from an EIA forecast report yesterday. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated further against the US dollar today compared to yesterday, according to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Accordingly, the buying rate of the US dollar has increased from 293 rupees and 85 cents to 294 rupees and 38 cents, while the selling rate has also increased from 303 rupees and 1 cent to 303 rupees and 92 cents. Let's see how the rupee has fluctuated against the other foreign currencies. Well, the corporate world has initiated quite a number of partnerships lately. Updates on that right after this break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Sri Lanka's Browns Investments said it had reached an agreement to buy Lipton tea companies in Kenya, Tanzania and Rwanda from their UK and Netherlands-based parents. The purchase will be made through UAE-based B Commodities MEFZE, a unit of Brown Investments.
Brown said in a stock exchange filing that it had entered into a sales and purchase agreement with Ekaterra Holdco UK Limited and Netherlands-based Ekaterra Group Holdings BV and Ekaterra Group Holdings 2 BV to buy control of the African firms. Brown's investments will buy 100% of the Rwanda-based Lipton Teas and Infusions Rwanda Limited and 100% of Tanzania-based Lipton Teas and Infusions in Tanzania Limited. It will buy 98.56% of Kenya-based Lipton Teas and Infusions Kenya PLC and 51.99% of Limura Tea PLC. The price will be calculated in accordance with the SPA, it said. Ekaterra is a former tea division in Unilever which was sold to CVC Capital Partners.
Emirates had reaffirmed its long-standing commitment to promoting tourism to Sri Lanka through a memorandum of understanding signed with the Sri Lankan Tourism Promotion Bureau at Arabian Travel Market 2024 in Dubai.
The MOU was signed by Ahmad Khoury, Emirates Senior Vice President Commercial West Asia and Indian Ocean, and Shalaka Gajabahu, Chairman of the Sri Lankan Tourism Promotion Bureau, in the presence of Honorable Harin Fernando, Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs of Sri Lanka, and Nabil Sultan, Emirates Executive Vice President, Passenger Sales and Country Management. Now in its 38th year of operating in Sri Lanka, Emirates will continue its efforts to support the island nation's tourism agenda. Through joint collaborations outlined in the agreement, including the development of special packages designed to appeal the various audiences and familiarization, trips from key feeder markets, Emirates will continue to contribute to the nation's tourist arrivals and wider tourism economy. As a part of its wider efforts to support the Indian Ocean nation, Emirates will also engage closely with the travel agents and tour operators in key strategic markets to help showcase the destination's offerings to customers across its global network.
Dialog Enterprise, the corporate ICT solutions arm of Dialog Axiata PLC, proudly announces the latest edition of its portfolio of industry-leading and innovative automation solutions together with UTech Solutions. Through the partnership, Dialog Enterprise aims to leverage its considerable experience in working with diverse industries and multiple use cases to develop innovative and affordable technology solutions. Focusing on facilitating the transition to Industry 4.0 for enterprises, this collaboration therefore enables tailored IIoT solutions for integrating smart devices, data analytics, and automation systems to optimize operations and boost efficiency. Virtusa Corporation, a global provider of digital business strategy, digital engineering, and IT services and solutions, was recognized as one of the most outstanding exporters in the services category by the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka. This recognition was awarded at an award ceremony held at the Presidential Secretariat recently. Virtusa was among 30 organizations that were felicitated by the BOI for their significant contributions in export performance and foreign direct investment. The award ceremony, which was graced by President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Minister of Investment Promotion Dilum Amunugama, and BOI Chairman Dinesh Veerakodi, was held in celebration of the 45th anniversary of the BOI. Sri Lanka Cricket is pleased to announce that Amul, a prominent Indian dairy company with a global presence, has been appointed as the official sponsor of the Sri Lankan men's team for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024.
The CEO of Sri Lankan Cricket expressed that the partnership with Amul is a great step forward. Associating with an international sports brand will undoubtedly contribute to the firm's market growth and increase its brand visibility among global audiences. Mr. Jayan Mehta, the managing director of Amul, said that their products is proven model for dairy development and is proud to associate with Sri Lanka also to benefit for their small and marginal farmers. Amul has been associated with Sri Lankan cricket team most recently in the 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup. Sri Lanka will kick off the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024 on the 3rd of June 2024 facing South Africa in New York. The ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024 will be held in West Indies and USA from the 1st of June to 29th of June.
Nestle Lanka and the Commercial Bank of Ceylon partnered to launch an initiative to support dairy farmers with concessionary finance to expand their operations. This was also done with the target of increasing milk yield in line with the purpose of implementing generative agricultural practices to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the dairy value chain. The partnership put together a value chain financing program aimed at providing farmers with tailor-made financial solutions at a nominal interest rate. As part of the financing program, Commercial Bank will also cover community development initiatives such as improving financial literacy and technical awareness of dairy farmers. Moving on to a short break now, this is the Nile Business Report. Welcome back to the Nile Business Report. Japan stocks led declines in Asia-Pacific markets today as investors passed through earnings from the region, including reports from Japanese giants Toyota Motor and Mitsubishi. Japan's Nikkei 225 dropped 1.63% to end at 38,202.37, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 0.77%, along with mainland China's CSI 300 Index lost about 0.8% to close at 3,630.22. The Kospi climbed 0.39% higher to its highest level in more than a month at 2,745.05. Australia's S&P ASX 200 inched up 0.14% to finish at 7,804.5, marking a 5-day winning streak. At Wall Street now, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average both clung on to gains to end slightly higher yesterday, extending recent winning streaks fueled by renewed expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates this year.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 clung on to gains to close higher on Tuesday, extending recent winning streaks fueled by renewed expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates this year. Those two indexes each finished up about 0.1%, while the Nasdaq fell 0.1%. The Dow rose for the fifth straight session, its longest winning streak since December. This despite a 9.5% decline for Dow stock Disney, after a surprise profit in its streaming entertainment division was eclipsed by a drop in its traditional TV business and weaker box office. Other stocks on the move included Nvidia, which fell 2% after the Wall Street Journal reported that Apple was developing its own chip to run artificial intelligence software in data centers. And shares of Palantir Technologies tumbled 15% after the data analytics firm's annual revenue forecast fell short of analysts' estimates.
Apple revamped its iPad lineup during the tech company's May event. CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, stated that yesterday's reveal was the biggest day for iPad since its introduction.
The iPad Air and the iPad Pro got significant upgrades, and Apple also introduced a new Apple Pencil Pro and Magic Keyboard for the devices. Apple also lowered the price on existing iPad 10-inch, which will now start at $349. Apple announced the launch of new iPad products for the first time in 2 years, including the introduction of company's latest M4 chip, jumping all the way from M2, which Apple says will make the device 4 times faster. Apple introduced a new Apple Pencil Pro to pair with the new iPad Pro and new iPad Air devices. The company said the new Magic Keyboard has been redesigned to be thinner and lighter to work with the new thinner iPad Pro. The new Apple iPad Air will now come in 2 sizes, an 11-inch display and a larger 13-inch display. Both will have the updated M2 chip.
TikTok and its Chinese parent company ByteDance sued in U.S. federal court seeking to block a law signed by President Joe Biden that would force the divestiture of the short video app used by 170 million Americans or ban it.
TikTok and Chinese parent company ByteDance are suing the U.S. government to block a law that could see the app banned in the country. The companies filed their lawsuit in a Washington, D.C. federal court on Tuesday, arguing that the legislation violates the U.S. Constitution on free speech protections, among other grounds. The law, signed by President Joe Biden on April 24th, gives ByteDance until January 19th to sell TikTok or see the app banned in the U.S. In the lawsuit, the companies complained that the government's singling out of the platform is unprecedented. They say there was no question that the move will, quote, force a shutdown of TikTok by January 19, 2025, silencing the 170 million Americans who use the platform to communicate in ways that cannot be replicated elsewhere. The administration has said its aim is not to ban the app, but to see Chinese-based ownership ended on national security grounds. The White House and Justice Department declined to comment on the lawsuit. In the court filing, the company said the sale is simply not possible, not commercially, not technologically, not legally. They said moving the TikTok source code to the US would take years for an entirely new set of engineers to gain sufficient familiarity, adding that the Chinese government has made clear that it would not permit a divestment of the recommendation engine that is a key to the success of TikTok in the United States. The companies are asking the court to block U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland from enforcing the law. According to the document, only 21% of ByteDance is owned by the company's Chinese founder. 58% is owned by global institutional investors such as BlackRock, and 21% is owned by employees, including about 7,000 Americans.
With that, we come to an end of today's Nightly Business Report. We will see you again tomorrow with the latest updates. I'm Sina Mayadune. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.